Hello, and welcome to Connor versus Cobb, the podcast of discussions with me, Ryan Connor, and my co-host, Nick Cobb.
Nick Cobb, I like that podcast and discussions. I don't even know what it really means. I mean, you should say podcast, with discussions.
Did I say in discussions?
I think you said, did you not say Connor versus Cobb podcast and discussions? Like we're
I don't know. I
like
don't know.
a retail store?
I
We sell podcasts,
it wasn't
but not
planned.
just
All right.
podcast. Come for
Yeah.
those and stay for the discussions.
Hey, whatever works for people, whether you want podcast or discussions. Let me tell you what I did. Okay. Yesterday evening, I played golf after work, and I hadn't played in like 9 months. And at my place, I share a storage space. It's shed like, but I mean, it's really just like the edge of a garage. But I share it with my neighbor. Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I just like shed
And
like. I like that. Yeah.
yeah, I had not seen my golf clubs in several months. I pull them out. I don't look at them. I just put them in my trunk. I go to the course. Because I hadn't played so long, I decided I'm not even going to warm up. I'm not taking any practice swings. I just want to see if there's any difference. Guess what? No difference, by the way.
Between what? Practice swings, no practice swings?
between when I'm playing, once a week and not playing for 9 months and playing again. I actually hit better yesterday than when I used to play weekly. So
Right.
that's not what's important. I get to the first tee. I look at my bag. My 9-iron, my pitching wedge, and my sand wedge, the heads of the clubs, are covered in blood.
What?
Yeah.
There,
It
can you give
seems
me a
intentional.
visual beyond? Like, do you
It's-
mean like you cut your hand 6 months ago and like there's a little bit of blood? Or you what? What are we talking about? Like,
One of them had some drips. Two of them had more substantial blood. It did look like it was dripped onto it, not beaten onto it, but it was still a significant amount of blood. And the
are you
fact that
like
it
a
was
splatter
on,
expert like Dexter? Like I'm trying to wrap my mind around. I
yeah,
mean, we've all only seen like massive amounts of blood on TV for the most part.
yeah.
Like, are you talking about like network level blood or like Showtime, HBO, Cinemax blood or like USA blood?
Look, here's what I was
Or maybe
thinking.
History Channel's the worst.
Here's what I was thinking probably happened, right? Um, the storage unit used to just be me and Rachel using it. We have a new neighbor there, and she had some, she hired someone like a TaskRabbit to put some stuff in there. And I was thinking maybe this person who's working as a TaskRabbit cut his hand really bad and didn't realize it at first and was dripping blood in there. I don't see any other blood though. And there's no blood on the other clubs. It was these 3 clubs that had other clubs surrounded by them. And it doesn't look like someone got the shit beat out of them with them. It's weird though, because it's the 3 short irons.
Okay, so let's go with this for a second. So you think that maybe he just grabbed a club or she grabbed a club to reach something, like to help like bat something down, pull something down.
Kill an owl.
Yeah, something like that. And then, cut their hand. And that's how it was only on this one club.
3 clubs. Sucks, no, God. It's 3 clubs. It's the 9, the pitching wedge, and the sand wedge.
Okay, yeah, that theory.
They weren't even like right beside each other. I don't organize my bag at all. I just put shit in. So it looks systematic. Like someone was like, I'm gonna go play a par 3, and then maybe I'll kill someone on the way back.
Are those the 3 clubs that you would use on a par 3?
You'd probably just bring the 9 and the pitching wedge. But yeah, but you could bring the sand wedge if you want to hit out of the sand. Yeah.
So maybe you hit like a bird or something the last time you were playing, and then you went on a bender and put the golf clubs back in the bag, and then in the garage you completely forgot about it. What are the chances of that?
Yeah, I'd say close to 0. Although the funniest thing I've ever seen while playing golf is playing with our friend Christian. He nails a ball, it goes straight into a tree, As soon as it goes into the tree, a bird flies out the other side at the same trajectory, and his ball doesn't come down. So it looks like his ball turned into a bird. It was incredible.
That's how my college roommate thought evolution worked.
So
hey, monkey walks into the forest, comes right out of man. That's how it works. God,
that's exactly
that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So you think that your golf clubs were used in an attack?
I don't know what else it is. Because there's smear on one of them and drips on the other two. It's hard to understand. I want to look in there more carefully another time. I took photos when I noticed it just so I have them, and I showed our friend TK who I was playing with just to be like, just to be clear, I'm surprised by this blood too, just in case the authorities are like, so Ryan was playing with his blood covered clubs? And we're like, yeah, but he didn't know they had blood on him, so we were playing, and then he was kind of happy the grass was wet, thinking it would fucking get the blood off, but it didn't. So there's still blood on my clubs, on two of them.
So did you notice when you pull the clubs out of the bag, or did you not notice until you hit it and blood sprayed everywhere coming off of the, like when you swung it?
No, it's very dried blood, right? No, I noticed it as like we're going up to the first tee, and I'm trying to decide if I'm hit with my driver or 5-wood. And then I see the drip on the 9-iron, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. What is that? That's blood. And then I see the two wedges, and I was like, I feel like maybe I should contact the authorities, but at the same time, I can't play the course without the 9-iron and the pitching wedge.
Right. That's evidence.
So that's why I took pictures. I took pictures. And there haven't been any like stories in the news about like people disappearing in the neighborhood lately. So I'm like, all right. I don't think
clearly someone was hit by a 9-iron. Take a look in your golf bags, everybody.
And my clubs aren't damaged. So here's the thing. There were 3 of us in our group. And when there's only 3, if it's full, they'll pair you with more people to try to get to, 4 or 5. So we're paired with this Korean couple, Kevin and Sue. And they're just, I think they're tourists. Like they spoke very little English, but they're very, very friendly, very nice to play with. And but on one of the holes there, it's just a 9-hole course in Griffith Park called Roosevelt. Kirstie Alley's house is on the course there.
Really?
It's like right off. So it's on it's like the 7th or 8th hole. Her house is right there. And we always, I don't know, we just always, anytime we're on that hole, we go, Kirstie Alley's house. And
sure.
And Kevin or Ken, whichever, he was like, what? Because he thought I was, bringing it to his attention. And I go, oh, this was Kirstie Alley's house. And he goes, who's that? And like it turned into this thing where I'm explaining Kirstie Alley. And I go, yeah, she was a famous actress. And he go, on TV. And I said, yeah, she was on this show Cheers. Cheers. Do you know Cheers? And he goes, and I Google it and I show him like just the cover of it, like there'll be like the DVD cover. And he says, oh, Cheers. And then I go, but she's dead now. She's dead.
It's like whenever you think humanity is doomed, you'll get put in some kind of situation that restores it a little bit. And one of those for me is when I'm in a situation where I have to communicate with someone who doesn't speak English, or I don't speak their language, but we're both very polite to each other. We have a common goal of even if it's just getting through the next 5 minutes while we're at like in line for an airline ticket counter or something. Like we're just getting through it just through politeness, nonverbals. It's like a Chaplin movie, Yeah. And it always makes me feel really good inside. It's
awesome.
I love it that you got him excited about where you both recognized something from the 80s. Like I bet they ran that in Korea. Sure. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe if it were like, hey, remember Sam? I bet you could probably have a little bit of a piecemeal conversation there. but yet immediately had to give him bad news at the same time.
She's dead.
Like even I bet he remembered her. He probably would remember her.
You won't see her in a reboot. She's dead. And before that, she was crazy for a few years.
Yeah.
Very crazy.
Oh, you were really embracing him. The amount of work you had to do to get to like the point of like, cheers, she was on this show. And now she's been dead for a while and she was complete insane before she died. Didn't end very well. But anyway, you don't even understand this.
You remember COVID? She didn't believe it was real. And now she's dead. So somebody else lives in the house now.
And then you Google a picture of like a tombstone and you're like, dead, dead. Right. And he's like, yeah, Dad, I get it. I know Dad. Yeah.
What's weird is before that we were like very polite, to each other, but it wasn't like over the top. And I think this is the 7th hole. Yeah, because there was still a couple holes after this. The camaraderie picked up after that because I'm remembering on that hole, it's the hardest hole at the course, right? And we all played it. It was the best I'd ever played. We all played it great, right? And we all 5 of us hit long putts on that hole, and it was like jubilant. It was like a craps table. So my new strategy is anytime I'm playing golf with strangers, I'm just going to pick out a house and say it's a dead celebrity's house just to get it going. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, it's so easy in LA to do that, to be just like, you don't need star maps. I'm your star map guy. And then just pick one out. Hey, you remember Al Bundy?
Sammy Davis Jr. That was his house. He didn't live there, but he strictly had it for eating pickles. He would just go there to eat pickles because his wife didn't like him. Isn't that cool? And they're like, I didn't know that. And fucking high-fiving.
I had to speak at this like panel for a career day yesterday, a bunch like in front of a bunch of freshman high schoolers, and they would always, it's like a 15-minute thing.
Should I hold my questions till the end of this? Because I'm going to have a lot of questions.
It was hard to get them to ask, but all they ever asked was, how much money do you make? You talk around that, right? You talk around it where because I'm trying to like talk about the business in general. I'm like, well, it depends on if you're a union or non, blah, blah, blah. No, I want to know how much you are making right now. And no one stepped in. Nobody ever stepped in. First of all, these kids are on their phones, and no counselor or anyone said, you know what? There's a different way to ask that. And that's really rude. But like, you get asked it for every question that was like, hey, how do you license music for your show? You would get 5. Hey, which celebrities have you met? Mm-hmm. Have you ever played basketball with Kevin Hart? And how much money do you make? But it was kind of fun by like the 5th time that you're just making up celebrities.
I know what you mean. I've only done something like that one time where I spoke to the high school students and they were like disadvantaged and homeless kids, actually. And I'm talking to them. I don't know what to say, and then they're like, does anyone have any questions? It's just silent for like a minute. And then someone goes, you ever met, and then they just named some famous person. I was like, no. And it was just them naming famous people and asking if I've met them. That was the Q&A.
The weird part is the opposite. The other guy that was with us, really cool. He was a feature writer for ESPN for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And so he's met like all the greats. He's written on all the greats. They didn't give a shit about that. He'd be like, here's the list of people I've written with and who I like hung out with. LeBron, Kobe, Michael Phelps, Lindsey Vonn, Kobe. Nothing. They're not batting an eye. They do not care.
They just want to know if you've met the person who runs Home Depot because of that Home Depot commercial you were in.
Yeah, they wanted to ask him about like, do you use AI to help write your articles? And for me, it was the exact opposite. Where to the point where I started actually like, you know what? I did meet Denise Richards once, and every person over 35 was like, you did? You met Denise Richards? I'm like, yeah, but it was after she got all the plastic, but she did have Charlie Sheen's house, and he had 7 pools in it. So the pool stuff was amazing.
Yeah, they
And I was
apparently
actually
had the
there as a
best pool
lifeguard.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, did you ever see Glengarry Glen Ross? And by then I was just talking to the librarians. And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, the woman in that, I was a lifeguard at her thing too. But John
Wait a minute,
Krasinski,
but
not just like
you're so all over the place right now. So were you talking at
I know
this
I've had a
career day
difficult last 7 minutes.
talking about pickup lifeguard gigs? What were you
No,
talking about?
they didn't care about context. They just wanted to know. They're just thinking, LA, who have you met that's famous? And it got to the point where I was like, oh, I mean, guests come and do the show, and I talked to them for a few seconds. I just completely lied. I was just,
No, but
just
what
lying.
what was your talk about? Was it about ridiculousness? Was it about stand up? Was it about acting?
You
What
think I
was
talked to
your
these kids about stand up? Are you fucking crazy?
No, I want
No.
to know. Just tell me the answer.
They had me there.
Who
They wanted me to
how were
the
you
school.
recruited? Tell me if this is a high school, you don't have kids in high school. How did
Right.
any of this happen?
Our neighbor is a teacher at the high school.
Okay.
Last year she found out about a career thing coming up, and she put our names down without telling us, told us a few days before, and I'd really appreciate if you did it. And we're like, it's actually kind of a boring job. She's like, yeah, but it looks good on paper. They may be interested. Bound to be more exciting than some of the other people we have come in, blah, blah, blah. So we go in, and it's fine. It's kind of fun. It's something different, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like they asked smarter questions last year. This year we were in the library. So it just devolves so quickly from like
Right.
something that you're like, hey, you didn't know this job existed. Of course you didn't.
Yeah.
So here's this job that you didn't know existed.
Right.
Someone who works as a producer type on a TV show, blah, blah, blah. That's. And all it ends up being is like, whose dick have you seen? How much money did you pay to see it? It's just always the same kind of questions. It's always ends
It's
up being the same.
there seems to be I don't know, it seems like there's a correlation between it being worse this year and the kid asking the writer if he uses AI to write his articles. It
They
seems like the people are slowly shutting their brains off a little bit, like every year, 1 year at a time. Just people are like, okay, let's let the computers take over a little bit more this year than last year.
what I mean, I asked one of the counselors or whatever. I'm like, so every kid in here is on their phone. Every kid, and they're like, yeah, the district doesn't want to make it a policy because then they would have to do something to ensure the policy. But
Yeah.
we asked them to put them in sleeves when they go into class. I'm like, I've never been in a high school situation that had in a high school that had less energy, less like
Yeah.
juice. It was a Friday afternoon. They weren't talking to each other. There was no noise in the
Dude,
hallway.
Friday afternoon between classes, it should have the energy of a plane on its way to
it,
Vegas.
and you're going
Yeah.
to a 30-minute career panel. You should be able to just go and like just fuck around with your friends.
Dude.
It was so they didn't even have to enforce the quiet at the library thing. They didn't have to ever say that, not once. The only time they did was when the kids were away and me, Amy, and the ESPN writer were talking. That's the only time anyone was asked to quiet down. Can you imagine? Because none of them are talking to each other.
Yeah.
There's no hooting and hollering. There's no nothing. They're
Did you get any
just
big
on their
laughs?
phones. Only from the other adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, it's so weird. Well, they're banning phones in schools in California starting in January or February, so that's good.
Good.
Hopefully people learn to socialize again.
It
I
was kind of like it took you a minute and you're like, wait, I'm in a high school. Like, why aren't they fucking around, like booty bumping each other or something? And
Yeah,
there was just nothing. There's
just
nothing that's not
yeah,
choreographed beforehand,
right.
like intricately.
I, hey, we're doomed. We know this. We're doomed. You and I both had some hectic mornings. You a lot of tech stuff, as you see. Nick is holding, for people who are watching the podcast, not just listening, the way of the future. Nick is holding his desktop mic. And so we had to pause in the middle of this for about 30 minutes due to tech difficulties. I had a meeting that I thought was going to be quick and it ended up being about 3 hours. It was like a big thing. It was like 150 people. And before there was like a little breakfast sort of socializing thing.
Oh God.
A couple things. One, I don't like small talk and cannot do it. I just can't do it.
That's not true.
Substantial
That's something
talk,
that people like to say
no,
about not being good because you're such a deep person. You can't possibly discuss the
no,
weather.
I'm just bored. I don't want to fucking talk about where do you live? How'd you get here? I don't care where you live. I'm not going to your house. I don't need directions.
Oh, dude, I can not to take away from your story. We can go back to, but I can talk about anybody, anything to anyone at any time. Just an hour ago, a guy came over to pick up a buffet table from
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace, and I accidentally dropped. Like, you know that there was a hostage situation. I've told you this. In LA, we had a hostage situation like 20 feet from our house.
Mm-hmm.
I've told that story to almost every single Facebook Marketplace person that's come over. And now it's devolved into me saying my kid was taken hostage. So that is what I said, because he noticed that the buffet table was not wooden. I didn't put in the Marketplace thing that it was
What is
wooden.
it?
It's like a metal, the copper, brass, something like that. It's like it'll last forever, but it's not wood. But in the picture, I can see why he would think it was like a cedar, maybe. And I'm just throwing that out. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so I wouldn't surprise me when he was like, "Oh, it's not wood," and I immediately basically turned it. I don't know how, but I turned that conversation on a dime to within 10 seconds, saying, "We moved from LA." And we did it because my kids were taken hostage. I don't know. Like, it's just so, I can't help myself in these. Like, I get 5 minutes with this complete stranger to say kind of whatever the hell I please.
It's reprehensible. But I mean, that's not even small talk. That's the opposite. That's going fucking head over heels. Like, I'm just diving in here. That's not head over heels. That's heels over head diving in. Whatever, yeah, man, whatever the phrase is, that's going for it.
No, small talk is like, I think it's all in who we're talking about. My kind of small talk is that, like, if you're talking to a stranger, like when I was still in LA, was in a line at Costco right before Christmas. One of the speed lines, right, where there's like 6 different checkouts, self checkouts. Usually goes pretty fast. Within 15 seconds, I got in a conversation with a guy, and it went from, "Hey, this line's going fast," to him telling me about an acid trip he had in Colorado. That was within 15 seconds. I've got a knack for it. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. That's what I'm getting at. It does not have to be true. They'll still remember that dude who bought the buffet table. He's talking about it right now.
He probably is. Look, I mean, you telling that insane lie is one thing. I'm talking about when it's like, pretty good bagels, but it'd be nice if they had a toaster. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, what are we talking about?
It sounds like you are prioritizing honesty when all you really want to do is make an impression.
I've just never enjoyed small talk, is what I'm saying. Okay, I get overwhelmed if I'm surrounded by, if I don't, not even overwhelmed, bored. If it's a bunch of people I don't know and I'm at this thing, like I remember, like I stopped going to comedy club holiday parties a few years ago because every club has their holiday parties, and I went to one, and first it took me like 30 minutes to find a parking spot, and I walked in. And when I walked in, it was like 30 people turned and looked at me. And then I guess once they saw that it wasn't Adam Sandler or something, they turned around, right? And I looked in and I went, "Oh God," and I just left. It's like, what am I going to do? Am I just going to walk around? Hey, Dave.
It's basically a comedy.
Hey,
a comedy
Mike.
Club.
What are we doing?
No, a comedy club Christmas party is basically an open mic, but you're just shoehorning like your new bits into conversation as you're walking down the buffet line.
It's the worst. So anyway, I get overwhelmed in these scenarios. I'm not good at initiating conversation with anyone. If anyone wants to have like a conversation about something, I'm in. But like I said, I don't want to talk about traffic, weather. I don't want to talk about where you live, your neighborhood. I don't care. If you want to, if you got aggressive coyotes at your house, we can talk about that. Something interesting. So anyway, I'm at this meeting and I'm completely by myself. And our rep, she's very nice, and she's like, she sees it. I'm just kind of hanging by myself, and she's like, okay, let's bring him into this group here. And I come in, we got bagels, right? And I made this giant bagel with lox sandwich, right? And I hadn't been eating it. Like I was just about to eat it, and it's on my plate. And he's like, "Hey, everyone, this is Ryan." And I mean, everyone, I go take a bite, and when I did, like 5 ounces of lox and cream cheese spills out of the bagel and falls onto the carpet.
Brutal.
It was just done. It was done. Everyone's like, "All right."
It's not a terrible way to break the ice, though, because you don't have to talk anymore. And you're immediately, people kind of have some sympathy, like, hey, I've been there. So
well,
if you
could
do that intentionally.
Well, I picked it up. I picked up the lox and stuff with a napkin and swiped up as much of the cream cheese as I could. Sure. And then I was holding it, and then I just moseyed, like slowly drifted to the corner. And then 2 of them went over to say hi to me again, which was very nice. But anyway, it was very funny. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for being here. And I'm like, I'm gonna throw some fish on the floor real quick.
Yeah, you did it basically a food version of a spit take. Yeah, that's tough, man. I'm sorry to hear that. But, you recovered. And, anytime there's a breakfast social, I don't know of anyone who's gone to one of those and left and been like, I'm so glad I went to that. Really made a lot of contacts. Here, I got a random question for you. If you had to be in either Harry Potter or the Twilight series, which one would you go if you're living in it? If Harry Potter is real, would you rather be in
Nick,
yeah.
Can I just say, I'm sorry for you're having a really tough day, but it's being able to see how defeated you are right now. It's making my day. It's brightening things up for me. Just because you don't normally get to see people so exasperated, maybe in a movie or something, but then it's not real. Nothing has gone right for you, and this is it's. I mean, it's like Wile E. Coyote I'm watching right now. Can I pile on a little bit? We have a letter from the editor to the editor.
Yeah.
It's a letter to the editor. Okay, letters to the editor. It's a segment we do where we read letters that were written to the editor, and then we read them. All right. So, okay, I'm just Dear Ryan, ask Nick if he slams his mug down when he drinks as an act of dominance or to show the listeners how strong he is. Because the listeners have heard and it's quite intimidating. So is it to demonstrate dominance toward me or to show the listeners how strong you are?
I mean, I'm not above like body bragging when I can. Showing people how strong I am, how high I can jump. Like, you ever just out of the blue, you're in the middle of a conversation, walking down the street with your friend, and you run and you jump and you try to touch a sign?
Oh, I mean that was 25 years of my life, man.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. And you don't say anything about it. You don't even say, I'm going to go touch that street sign. You just go do it.
Anytime I see a kid or a teenager, dunk on a door frame, I'm like, we're still living. We're still alive. Civilization is not done. We're still dunking on door frames. I remember at my middle school, like just going into a class. I mean, it was like a dunk contest. Everyone who walked in was like everyone it was just a different dunk 20 in a row.
It was really awesome and super fun. There was always something
Yeah.
going on. And, like, that's the exact opposite of high school now, apparently. They would only do that if it were
It's layup
like, if they had a
drills.
DP there and they had written out a script for it. It's all so depressing.
Yeah.
Like, teachers begging the kids to not look at their phones. Like, God, there's just there's just no balls in that whole school. Just how do you beg a kid and then
It's
tell
yeah.
them like try to teach them something?
Right. You can't. Have I ever told you this? This my uncle. He was an NBA player in the '60s, and then he was a like government official. And then when he retired from that, he heard that Philadelphia had a shortage of black male teachers, and they needed more as role models. So he starts teaching. He goes gets his master's in education first, and he's already retirement age, and he starts teaching history in a middle school. If anyone's from Philly, Vox Middle, and he said kids are just like talking shit to him, and
What
he
year are
said
we
that
talking?
this is like I don't know, 15 years ago until 10 years ago, maybe. So it's like the
Okay.
early end of this trend of it's before it went fully downhill, but it was like you could see the type of ego developing that would lead to this.
Okay, so
Um,
wait, hang on. Would he have been someone that they would have recognized like as an NBA player?
no, 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 no. But
Okay.
but this is where I'm getting to. But he's like his like numbers retired and all that stuff, and
Wow. Okay.
held records for a long time. And he he, they ask one day he's asking people what they want to do when they're adults, and he said almost every boy in the class said they were going to be in the NBA. And he goes, okay, so where do you guys play basketball? None of them actually played basketball.
No.
Yeah, and he's like, well, in order to play in the NBA, you really have to be working at it very hard every single day. You'd be playing for an AAU team and your school team, and colleges would be, people start recruiting you and stuff like that. And they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything. And
They
he's like,
said that to a former did they
yeah.
and they knew that
And
he was in, they knew he had been in the NBA, right? That like,
they
they
didn't know. He doesn't tell people, and he just went, okay, you're right. I don't know anything. They could have asked him, but they didn't care. But the funny thing about him, he's very modest. Actually, when he married my aunt, that's his second marriage. She did not know that he was a former NBA player until
Really?
like a year in. Yeah.
Man, he's
So
a
yeah,
gentleman. I would be dropping that into every
he,
conversation, especially Facebook Marketplace. Every
he didn't
single
want
one of them.
he didn't want people to know he ran a department of the Philadelphia government, and he was a tennis player. He was like ranked like nationally for the seniors. Yeah, he was ranked third in the Northeast. Um,
Wow.
and so anyway, my aunt Krista goes out to dinner with one of her friends, and she's like, so tell me more about like the guy. What's his last name? And she says his full name, and her friend goes, the basketball player, and she goes, no, he plays tennis. And she's like, are you sure? No, he was a basketball player, and she's like, no, he's never mentioned basketball. I think he just plays tennis and stuff. And then she asked him, "He's like, you play basketball?" He's like, "Yeah, but that was a while ago. I stopped." Which, meanwhile, by the way, when he was about 60, we would go to courts, and he was cooking high schoolers.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Oh, that
cooking them.
God, that must have been so
Just
satisfying.
just straight to the block, and just fade away or pump up and under. Just it
Dude,
was fun.
did they talk trash to him too? Like when the game would start?
I don't think so. I don't remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's like where I live. I mean, it was always like a wait for all the basketball courts. It was always like 20 people at every court, and
Yeah.
but I don't remember any. I remember more shootings than trash talk. So I think maybe the trash talk, I think the trash talk was low because there were shootings.
The shootings were high. Yeah.
One night we went to play. It was the night before my senior year of high school, and I was sick during the day, and so I didn't go somewhere with my parents. They wanted me to go. It might have been church or something on Sunday night or something, and so
God,
me and my
Sunday night
friends,
church, Jesus.
yeah, and it was like 6 p.m. It's like, what are we doing here? So we went to the nearest court, which we were not supposed to play at because there had been some shootings, and
but no talking.
no talking. And we go there. It's the first court I dunked at too, actually. So that I will never dislike this court. So we're playing, and I can't remember if I was just driving. It was for a layup or if it was a rebound, whatever it was. Someone missed, like jumped very late, and I'm coming down, and he starts going up. His head hits my chin.
Mm-hmm.
My teeth go through my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Blood is pouring out of my mouth. If you've ever seen this scenario, because you have these like giant veins under your tongue, and blood is just pouring everywhere. You know what happens? There's 10 people playing the game, plus probably 5 to 10 waiting. Within 1 second, someone goes, "He's leaking," and everybody runs to their cars and drives away because I think they were afraid that I was going to get a gun and shoot someone.
Really? God, I've got so many questions.
We couldn't figure anything else out because three of my friends were with us, and obviously they didn't leave; they were with me. But everyone else left, and we're like, why did they leave? And then we're like, is it because of the shootings? And they thought that, obviously I wasn't saying this; I couldn't talk, but it was crazy. And it was just like, of me and my friends, no one has ever held a gun. We're just like 4 nerds.
Dude, that's crazy. 2 times I was most injured playing basketball. One, somebody elbowed me getting a rebound, and they knocked out these 4 teeth down here. And another one, the other one, I was after I had just gotten braces. I had braces off for 8 years when I was a kid. 8 years.
Buddy.
Got them on when I was 6.
Oh.
Got them on when I was 6. I know.
Is that young enough that it's really cool that you have them?
when like they're falling out as they're supposed to be, let's correct them while they're falling out, by all means. No, 6 to 10, and then like 11 to 15. And about 2 weeks after I got the braces off for good, teeth knocked out. But then also freshman year, I blocked a kid's shot, landed on his foot, broke my ankle. Both instances, I got basically taken off the court, and someone replaced me within 30 seconds. That's what I thought you were going to say, because it's like ants. It's like one goes down, just come on in. This is all a colony.
Yeah.
That's what we care about. Let's just keep the game going. Nick's down, bring somebody else in. Throw him some ice
devastating. Injury. Let me go back to this. You're talking about your 8 years of braces.
Yeah.
What would you take? What would you prefer? 8 years of braces, or you look like you're about 12 until your senior year of high school, you're 16, and you finally start growing. You grow a foot, and in that time they go, "Oh, your old dentist actually made a mistake, and you have to get braces now as a senior year in high school, and we have to pull one of your teeth." Which would you prefer?
No, the senior year thing. I mean, you're talking about 1 year, and it's kind of like it's not as bad as 8 years of braces. I can tell you that much.
I don't
know.
This
is braces from the 80s and 90s, man. This is like where the wire would come out and stick in your cheek.
I had that too, man. But look, I'm going to say this, at least
by
the time you were 15,
months.
You were normal. No. I had it for 2 years.
That's nothing. That's standard braces.
Wait a minute.
The answer to the question is, did you have the
a year
braces
and a half.
for 8 years? You didn't.
What's that?
So
I didn't. No, but it was a year and a half. And look, you just got to understand. I looked like a small child. Okay, I was 5'2" when I got my driver's license. Okay. Actually, I think I was 5'1", and my driver's license said 5'2" because I was like, I'm trying to dream a little bit.
Wait, didn't you just say that you could dunk? Did you like swim in the same pool
years
as
later.
those guys in Cocoon?
That was 3 years later.
Okay, well, how much did you grow in 3 years?
I grew a foot in a year.
Okay. Okay, let me ask you. I wanted to ask you this before.
But
We'll go right
I'm
back to
trying to explain this braces thing.
Oh God, it's not as bad as 8 years. It's just
Buddy,
not.
listen to me. They pulled one of my teeth because because my mom was always like, that one tooth is smaller than the others, and my dentist was always like, oh, it's fine. It's he just sometimes a tooth is smaller than the others. And then we go to a new dentist my senior year, and he goes, oh, that's a baby tooth, and they do X-rays, and you're like, my adult tooth was sideways in the roof of my mouth. So on my birthday, December 17th of my senior year in high school, they it's my 17th birthday, they pulled the tooth, they cut out all the skin of the roof of my mouth, attach a braces bracket to it, and use a gold chain to attach it to the braces here, and they take a link out every 2 weeks to pull it into place. So I'm toothless as a senior boy.
Yeah,
and then braces my freshman year in college. Are you serious? That doesn't sound like a nightmare to you?
First up, Amy had that. I've heard about that procedure. Secondly, sure, it's bad, but it's not 8 years. I mean, it's basically like saying, like trying to convince.
I guess you're right. 8 years is
like, a veteran who fought in Iraq. You're trying to convince him that your semester at sea was just as bad because of all the hangovers you had. It's just a complete garbage. It's almost like you just wanted to tell the story, and so you amped it up as if it would ever come close to being as bad as 8 years when it didn't. On top of that, I had a number of teeth knocked out, and I had all those other procedures. That 8 years is just the beginning. I also had veneers done. Veneers like
a teenager,
somebody who drinks Ovaltine who has. I had those done when I was like 14.
All right. Here's why I brought it up. It's really just to pivot into this point, which is that I think that incels get a bad rap. Okay.
Playing the long game. Yeah.
That's my real point is incels get a bad rap because here's the problem. You have these misogynists online, right? Who, they're just misogynist trolls. And instead of being made fun of and called misogynist trolls, people honed in on the fact that no one will sleep with them, and they make fun of them for that. Why are we making fun of people for that? That's a lot of guys. And now we're just humiliating people who are shy or people who have braces in college. And
it just makes it worse.
Yeah. And it's like, nobody will sleep with you. And it's like, most of the people in that situation is because they're shy and too meek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not
right.
Because they're trolls.
Right. They're going to inherit the earth, right?
Yeah, it's because they're too sensitive. And then you're like, you fucking virgin.
So ridiculous. It also seems so kind of redundant to sit there and make fun of, some kid who's playing D&D by himself. Like, don't you? Why are you rubbing it in? He's perfectly aware of how inept he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he has no illusions that he's a social butterfly.
He's really. Can I get back to what you dunking? Because that's all I've been able to think about since you said you dunked for the first time on this court. Then everything else, I'm sure it was very fascinating, but I never could really get that image out of your head. So you dunked in a game.
No, it wasn't a game. I've never dunked in a game, actually. I've only attempted one dunk in a game, and I missed, but it scared the opponents because they didn't realize I could jump like that, and I went up over two people, and it went off the back of the rim. It was like an in and out, ba-boom kind of thing, and went back to half court.
Yeah, the motion was there. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all you need. It's kind of like the Patrick Ewing Georgetown block, even though it's
goaltending, but
it's goaltending. It still scared him off. So that's what you did, but you did it in a game, whatever. So, but you still dunked in practice. Was anybody watching?
Yeah.
And how much did you bring it up in conversation after?
Well, okay, that's so funny. This is such a guy conversation. Any female listeners are going to skip forward to 4 minutes now. So that day, that would have been, I think it was my sophomore year of college. That's when I was first able to really jump. Went to the court, and I'm trying to think of what is even like. I wasn't even planning on playing. I was like shooting around. I'd picked up my uncle from work, and anyway, I was like, at first I go for a layup, just like a finger roll, and the rim was at my wrist, and I was like, whoa. I've
Yeah,
never
man. It's like your
actually,
dick just grew 8 inches. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I've never actually tested this. And then I was like, I'm gonna try again. I go up and I dunk, and I was like, I go, Ronnie, I dunked. And then I'm just like
Yeah, you
looking around.
did.
No one else is at the court. It's the middle of the day, you know. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna. I went to my car. I had a disposable camera in my glove compartment, and I
Mhm.
was like, Ronnie, I'm gonna do it again. I want you to take a picture right as I'm dunking, and he did. I have that photo.
Oh, I
Um,
wanna see that photo, man. That's
I thought
awesome.
I've shown it to you. Yeah.
I bet you do
So
keep it in your pocket, yeah.
yeah. So
I
that I mean, I was dunking there, and then I used to at Mason would dunk, and then here I went through one or two phases of dunking in LA. The last one was about 5 years ago, and then just like I mean, it's like clockwork. I'm dunking for a few weeks, and then I get an ankle sprain.
maybe that's the more fun question is, like, would you rather be unbelievable at, like, cornhole or, like, which is professional or, like, a Frisbee golf
Oh,
or putt-putt?
actually, yeah, cornhole. Because
Cornhole,
I'm
unbelievable, just the best ever.
yeah,
Like, what's his name? Spencer, Cam Spencer's brother, who was like the best ever in lacrosse, and he's like, "No, I'm going to go play basketball," and he's
yeah.
in the NBA. But you know, would you rather be the best ever at darts or bowling or field hockey or
Darts would be
like a
fun, man.
G League basketball player?
To be the best darts player ever. Like they were. It was at one of the Bears games, and they have or no, it was during Hard Knocks. The Bears backup quarterback Tyson Bagent, his dad's there, and they're like,
Yes.
Bagent's
Mhm.
dad is the best left-handed arm wrestler in history, and the third best right-handed arm wrestler in history. It's like no one knows who this guy is. All we know is we know where he was on January 6th, 2021. That's all we know by looking at him is where he was.
And if you go into a truck stop, your gas is getting paid for because
Yeah.
someone who's very bored and lonely wants to talk to you about over the top for the next 15 minutes, but he's going to
Yeah.
pay for your gas. And you're like, all right, let's do it.
Let's
I
do it.
think I would rather be, yeah, I think I'd rather be like just unbelievable at this one weird thing.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go too. Yeah. You don't want to be in a super famous league and you got to deal with that.
Because even if you're G League and you never make it to the pros, or if you're like in minor league baseball or something, you get the people you were talking about. You go to the Y and it's like, dude, I can beat you. I can beat you. I've known some comics who were like ranked tennis players, and
Yeah, me
they're
too.
like,
Yeah.
I won't play you because it's too maddening. I'd rather play a wall than play someone who didn't at least play college,
Yeah.
right? But people don't understand it. They just like they've
People don't
only played their
understand.
friends that they think they're awesome, or they've only played their
That's what,
friends on Madden and
yeah.
they think they're awesome in real
Yeah.
life.
I know yeah, exactly. I know I don't want to toot my horn, but yeah, I know comics who play music and they've asked me if I want to play because I play drums and I'm just like, no. It's just I don't want to play rock, you know, you just backbeats and stuff like that. It's like
Right.
it's a different level of experience, you know what I mean?
Mm.
You know, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
far
sad. I
far
can't.
different level of technique and experience and I'm like I'm not going to play with you. I'm sorry.
I can't say that about myself about literally anything except for being able to get my daughter to talk about what's bothering her. I'm really, really good at that.
That's way more important than anything else.
I don't know if that's true. It'd be
It's
sick to be
way more
it'd be
important.
such a good drummer that you're like, no, I'm not going to step in. Sorry, it's too boring what you play.
It's yeah, I think your skill matters more. Look, I'm
To
just
her, yeah.
I'm a sad guy. I keep a practice pad right next to my computer. to do rudiments all day.
And today, after her basketball game,
yeah.
I was like, she was clearly upset. And after I got it out of her, I'm like, okay, we're going to call the coach. You're going to write these 5 things down so you remember what you want to say. Like, you don't have to write it all out. Just write the words. You're going to call your coach and you're going to tell him all of these things. Like, here, and one of them was like, D-bag who never passes to me because I'm a girl. I'm like, great, go for that. So that's my drumming and playing tennis and basketball.
That's great.
Hey, not what I would have picked as a kid.
Important. It's way more important. It's way more important.
Dude, there are people out there right now. They're the best pickleball player.
Yeah.
And the best. You know who was one of the best?
Who?
Former basketball great. The best player on the Warriors before Steph Curry came, ever, historically.
Mitch Richmond? Chris Mullin?
Keep on going back. Would have been the scoring leader, maybe would have helped you. Held all the Warriors scoring titles.
Tim Hardaway? No, I thought Mitch Richmond.
Rick Barry.
Oh, Rick Barry. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Like
exceptional
that, yeah.
pickleball player.
I think my uncle was on the team when Rick Barry was there. I'm trying to remember what years Rick Barry was. Yeah, but my uncle played for the Warriors and the Sixers.
Great. So he saw some underhanded free throws.
Yeah, I think he played with Rick Barry, but maybe he was right before Rick Barry. I don't know. He played with Wilt in Philly, though. That's nuts. Yeah.
Wow. And he was a modest man, your uncle. So, like, Wilt, not modest. I mean, he was in Conan, for God's sake.
He gave away all of his jerseys and his memorabilia and everything. The only thing that he still has is his, like, number retirement stuff from Villanova.
Remarkable.
He doesn't even have.
What a man.
He led them to the national championship, or back then it was just the NIT, and yeah, he was the captain, led them to win it, and doesn't have anything from it.
Yeah, that's something that, like, you have to be our age to appreciate, where you're like, you dismiss, like, oh, NIT, well, my team went to blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, not even close to the same. NIT back then was really
the NIT
something.
was the national championship.
Yes, correct.
It was 16 teams it was the top 16 teams in the nation who were invited. Yeah, and they won it one year and I think lost in the final the next year, but yeah. Anyway,
I forgot to say real fast. I know that we got to move on, but
we're like an hour.
One of the
reasons
why I didn't like last night's show is because I think I peed on my belt before I started my set, and it threw me off. I'm pretty sure. I just like.
How
I try to make a practice.
Your belt's above. Oh, you unlatch your belt to pee. You don't just use your zipper. So then the belt's hanging down.
You just go through the hole. You don't undo the belt.
What do I do?
That's so uncomfortable. Like, then you got to go, like, do the side.
No, I can't remember. No, I think it's do zipper. No, you don't have to do the side. I wear Tommy Johns.
No, but I'm talking about, you don't just wear Tommy Johns. I mean, you also wear pants.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I do the top. I don't wear a belt, though, so I don't think about it. Maybe I do the.
I don't, well... I mean, I don't wear yoga pants to a show, so, like, I'll wear a belt. And like,
I gotta walk through this and see if I hold on. Yeah, no, I unbutton.
Of course you do.
You're right. I just don't wear a belt. Yeah, never mind.
I was about to say, you're on, like, Madden level peeing in public if you're not taking the belt off.
No, yeah, do you ever do this though? If it's a long day, like you're traveling and you're just gonna pee, and you pull your balls out too, just so they can get some air and just to reward them.
Do I do it? I do it just about every time.
You do? Oh, okay. I thought I was a freak for pulling my balls out when I pee, but I just do it if it's a long day, if it's warm. It's like, here you go, guys. It's like taking your dog to the dog park.
Yeah, I completely agree. And plus, I feel like the penis works better when it's resting. Like, it's always like a cannon. It needs to be resting there. I like to take them out. They deserve a breather. It's just like 20 seconds. And then just put it all back in. Like, what?
I agree.
It's hardly any more effort. Take them out.
I agree.
I peed on my belt, and I think that was also that and the wireless mic combined. And the whole time, even though your shirt's untucked, you're like, do they know that I peed on my belt? Is someone going to say?
Yeah.
Because we're in Chicago, Staten Island, basically. Like, that motherfucker peed on his belt. That's what I'm afraid of. Let's play right.
Nick, before before we get out of here, let's play Rank Them. Rank Them is a game where I list 3 characteristics. This person is perfect for you in every way except for these 3 characteristics. So you can just apply them to your significant other. Unless you don't like them, then you can just pick someone else. Here are these characteristics. Number 1, instead of saying yes, every time that you would say yes, like whether it's you want fries or you think you'll make it here on time, anything, they say no diggity, no doubt. Every time.
That's Brendan Fitzgibbons. That's what he does. Yeah.
No diggity, no doubt. Just hundreds of times a day. 2, you have to watch 1 hour of Chicago Fire Station or whatever, one of those weird CBS shows. You have to watch an hour of Chicago Fire Station with her every day, and you have to take it seriously and discuss it with her after.
I love those shows.
Number 3, clown-style red circles on her cheeks. Like clown makeup style, red circles on the cheeks. Those are your 3.
This is super. This has never been easier. Absolutely, totally fine with doing Chicago, Reno locksmith or whatever it is, Calgary window washing.
Chicago locksmith.
I'm totally fine with it. I love
Nashville poster maker.
Rockford graphic tees. Yeah, I love those shows. I love making fun of those shows. They're the easiest.
No, but you're not allowed to. You have to take it seriously and discuss the plot every time.
All right, yeah, I can still do that.
I'm really concerned for Moreno. He seems to be the only one who actually understands fire, and no one takes him seriously.
It's remarkable that those shows still exist and they're not reality shows. That's what's crazy about it.
Is that still your number 1?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good Lord. What's number 2? No diggity, no doubt, or red circles on the cheeks?
No diggity, no doubt. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the order? You have to say them all.
2, 1, 3.
Say what they are.
So I would go with the Chicago Firehouse or whatever it is. That's fine. 1 hour of that.
Yeah.
Totally, I can do that. And then I go no diggity, no doubt.
Then you go no diggity?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the round circles, no, I'm out. I'm completely out. That's dead last.
I think you get used to the red circles. It's not makeup. It's not like she's drawing makeup. It's natural red circles, like clown circles.
No, I understand. It's like a birth defect, is what you're saying, and I'm supposed to get used to it. But you could say the same thing about saying no diggity, no doubt.
All right, you've talked me into it a little bit. I had the circles first. Now I'm going no diggity, no doubt first, just because you're going to go through a period where it bothers you more than anything in the world, but then you're going to get past that and it's going to be fine. So that's going to be number 1. The circles on the cheeks is number 2. Number 3 is Chicago Fire Station, because I'm telling you, when I stayed with my dad's stepmom for a week, and they watched those shows every night, and I felt like I was dying when they were on TV.
The part
like I felt like I was outside my body watching myself die.
All those writers on there are union writers, and they're getting paid big bucks to come up with things like on like Long Island Lifeguard. Like, watch out for that sand. You know, it's huge money.
No, watch out for that shard of glass on the beach.
Yeah. Yep. That's all they're saying.
That's that beach in New York where it's like, oh, you want to go to the beach today? And you go and it's just full of fucking like Cracker Jack wrappers and what's that? The thing where you put the stick to wipe the cheese on the cracker? Those like sticks all over the
God, yeah. There's nothing really that bothers me more on a day-to-day basis than litter. And sometimes it's like, oh no, it's like the wind took it out of the trash can, blah, blah, blah. And other times it's like, no, just a bunch of pieces of shit decided they were going to leave their stuff there.
That beach there, why do you want to live like more litter than sand. It was crazy. But anyway, we got to get out of here. Thank you for listening and watching and, you know, however else you took us in. Tasting.
Consumed it.
Nick, where can they get information on you, buddy?
Dude, I get it. I don't know, man. Oh wait, you know
Oh
what?
God, this
If
is
you go
so
to
easy. Just say your Instagram handle.
Nick_Cobb 78. I've got a show with Brendan Fitzgibbons on December 21st. That's the first one that comes to mind.
I don't know. It's a loaded question. Just go to RyanConneryComedy.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And we appreciate if you rate or review wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. And we won't see you next time, but we'll be here and you'll see us or hear us. Thank you.
Just a couple of guys palling around, coming out of your speakers, a beautiful sound. They debate, berate, and have a laugh or two. Connor v. Cobb, for me and for you. La 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 la, la 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 la. Connor v. Cobb, for me and you. Ryan and Nick. Nick and Ryan. The Scoundrels of the Hour.